Our middle school band program just received this new teaching resource, and I was first introduced to it about 5 years ago, and I was spending part of my day teaching at the high school, and I remember arriving there, walking into the band office, and there's this new keyboard there. And being a keyboard guy myself, I'm eager to check it out, but I don't recognize the model. All the controls on it look really different, and I'm wondering what in the world is going on here. And one of my colleagues said, this is one of the secret weapons for bands in Japan. So it was my first introduction not only to the Harmony Director from Yamaha, but also Japanese band culture in general, which is just amazing. But this is an amazing piece of technology. Normally, I'm very much of the philosophy that I want to figure out how I want to teach in a way that makes sense to me, and then if there's technology that can supplement that, I'm going to use it. But this technology is so different, and it's really pushing my teaching into new areas. So I wanted to talk about what is the Harmony Director, what are some ways we can use it with our bands. Also talk about some questions that I have about it, because I'm pretty new in this process. I've done a deep dive into just about everything that I can find to teach me how to use it. But I thought it might be helpful to do a video with someone who's kind of in the process of learning to use it with their bands, not necessarily try to catch up with one of the experts who's been using it for a long time. So we're going to talk about some of the questions that I have with it, but I do have some things that I've learned about it as well. So the Harmony Director, the way I think about it is kind of like what a metronome is to time, a Harmony Director is to pitch. So you think of a metronome is an audible reference point that lets you know where you are in relation to tempo. A Harmony Director lets you know where you are in relation to pitch in a way that's audible, not just watching a tuner. So the first thing that I'm going to be using it for is to simply use it as a reference point for tuning unison pitches, and just holding out notes and having the band tune to it. It could be standard pitches like B flat, E flat, F, that kind of thing, or it could be notes that present different intonation challenges for the band. It could just be using it as a reference point for anything that we're playing. There's a video that I'll link below that shows a very young Japanese band using this as a reference point for unison pitches in their warm-ups, and it's pretty impressive what they're able to do. But that's the first thing, is just using it to tune unison pitches. I've been doing that sort of thing for a while because it doesn't actually take a Harmony Director. Almost any keyboard will get you there if that's what you're using it for. But let's talk about some of the things that are unique to a Harmony Director's ability. So one of the things I'm going to do as far as the unison part is use it to demonstrate clearly what it means to be in tune versus not quite in tune, and using it to demonstrate the interference beats. One of the things that's great about the new version of the Harmony Director, the HD300, is this app, and in the app is a demonstrate mode. And if you click on that, there's something for interference beats. So I'm going to click on perfect unison, and I'm going to start with it out of tune, about 20 cents. You hear the interference beats. And then as I bring it more into tune, you can hear the beats slow down. And it's a very clear demonstration of what those interference beats. I've always tried to demonstrate that with students, but I've never gotten it as clear as what the Harmony Director is able to do with that. So that's something that I'm definitely going to try out. Once we get past tuning unison notes, I think the next step is to work on tuning chords. And at the heart of the functionality here is the ability to switch between equal temperament and pure temperament, which until you really work with a Harmony Director, it's easy to dismiss pure temperament as something that's kind of ethereal and only for really good bands with picky band directors. Once you hear the difference and how significant it is, you realize it is something we want to aim for that. So there are at least 3 different ways that I can think of to demonstrate this with our band. One way is to switch between. I need to quit out of the app in order for this to work right. Let's use an E flat chord. So we're in equal temperament for E flat, and then I'm going to switch to pure temperament. Equal, pure. So you can have this, hear how the chord is kind of wobbly on equal temperament. And just very solid once you get to pure temperament. So that's one way to demonstrate equal versus pure temperament. Another way to demonstrate the difference between equal temperament and pure temperament is to go back to the demonstrate function on the app. Instead of doing perfect unison, you can switch to major third or perfect fifth. If you go to perfect fifth, we're only going to adjust it 2 cents up, but if you listen closely, there's still some interference beats that happen with equal temperament. That go away when you go up 2 cents. With middle school students, if they're within 2 cents, we're probably going to count that as in tune. So we probably won't be able to worry about the perfect fifth too much. But it's the major third that we really want to pay attention to. So here's equal temperament for the major third. Pretty wobbly, so I'm going to lower it now. So even with the major third, you hear the interference beats and how they slow down the closer you get to the proper adjustment. I'm going to go back up to equal temperament. You hear how jarring it sounds. That sounds much better. So that's another really good way to demonstrate proper chord tuning with the HD300. There's another video on YouTube with Amanda Drinkwater and some other band directors from Texas, and they're showing some really good techniques. One of the ways they talk about pure temperament and demonstrating to the band is to start with equal temperament on your keyboard, and then have students watch the tuner as you play the individual notes. And they'll see that each note is right in the center on the needle. And then to switch to pure temperament, and now go through and watch the tuner on those notes, and you'll see how the root and the fifth are pretty darn close, but that third is way low on the tuner, but the chords sound so much better. So 3 different ways to demonstrate how significant the change to equal temperament can make things. The third thing that I'm going to use the HD to demonstrate with my band is proper chord balance. So you can get all the tuning adjustments made, but you're still not really locked in on the chord until you make the balance adjustments. So I'm going to go back to the app. In the demonstrate function, there's a part that says chord balance. I'm going to tap on that, and we're going to start with this chord with all of the notes of the triad at equal balance. So go back to pure temperament, which gets us most of the way there, but now I'm going to lower the fifth a little bit. I'm going to take the third all the way out and then just bring up a little bit to add color. So you hear a lot of the responsibility for making a chord sound good is with the third, because not only do you have to lower it significantly with the pitch, you also have to lower it in volume to get the chord balance correct. I do have some questions in how to integrate this with my band moving forward. One question that I have is, how can I avoid getting into the weeds in using this, especially with pure temperament, because it can get pretty tricky. If you think about playing a B flat major, you can have that D on top that's lowered about 13.7 cents. But then if you switch to a G minor chord, if a student is holding that D major, that concert D from the B flat to the G minor, they're going from the major third, which needs to be adjusted way down, to the perfect fifth, which needs to be adjusted a little bit up. So can we really expect that they're going to make that change between those? For the same thing, a B flat, if you're playing a B flat, you're going to hold that in tune. And then if you switch to G minor, now the minor third needs to be raised quite a bit. So it's those types of things that I tend to get in the weeds about. I'm going to follow the advice of people like the couple guys in Indiana at Carmel High School, Michael Potent, Kyle Young. They're definitely experts on this. One of the things that they would say is, don't get lost in the numbers. Just encourage kids to use their ears, use this as a guide to help get them there, but don't get lost in those different combinations. Another thing that they talk about, and a question that I have, is listening for the overtone. So in any note, if you have them play a unison, there's an element of this overtone, a 12th above, that you want to get kids to listen for. If you're having trouble hearing it like I was when I started this process, there's a video that I'll link below that kind of tricks you into hearing the overtone. It's a really fun video, so check that out. But also, Michael Potent, Kyle Young, they talk about encouraging your bands to listen for that overtone quite a bit. And even if they don't get it to perfectly resonate in their playing, just aiming for that tends to clean up some of the tuning issues that you're trying to get to. So anyway, they have a really good video that's almost a half hour long talking about not only how do they integrate it into their warm-up, but also use it to teach the literature. So check that out. That's linked below. Another question I have is, how can I get the band to buy into singing? If you pay attention to people who are doing this kind of work and using this, their bands are singing a lot. That's not something that our school has necessarily done in the band program, so I'm wondering how much I can push our kids to do that, and that's something I'm going to be working on this year. How picky will the students allow me to be about working with tone and pitch? I feel like they're going to hit a limit to how much we can do, and so how can I kind of increase their resilience to keep doing this incredibly detailed work? Finally, how can I bridge the work that we're doing in warm-ups, chorales, exercises? How can I get that into the literature, and what are the techniques I can use? So that's something I'm going to be experimenting with. There's so many things to figure out with this. I know the biggest thing for me is to simply use it, find out some things that work, that make sense to me, that move the needle with the band, and just make a little bit of progress every day. Don't worry about trying to master it from day one. I'm confident this resource is going to help me, and it's going to help our bands, and I'm excited to see where it takes us. So I hope some aspect of that was helpful for you. Be sure to subscribe so you're aware of if there are any updates, and I'll share what I learned moving forward. Also, if you're someone who's kind of in the middle of this process or thinking about a Harmony Director, trying to figure out how to use it and get more out of it, leave a comment. Maybe you have some suggestions for me. I would love to just start a conversation about how we can use this better and use it to develop our bands. So if you would, just leave a comment, click the like button, share it. Hope to hear from you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.